Howdy doggos, welcome back to my channel where we talk about infinite loops, which I won't explain because they give me panic attacks. This is Silo, and he's also known as Ghoul. Actually, he's gender fluid, or they are, so it's whatever they want. Anyway, crack open a beer, because right now we're going to start talking about MC Escher and Douglas Hofstadter. So, first of all, chill out first of all. First of all, Douglas Hofstadter is a professor. He's still alive, and he pioneered this theory that's called the strange loop. He wrote this great book called Gödel-Escher-Bach, and it's about how recursion and the incompleteness theorem, pioneered by the mathematician guy. He was an Oppenheimer, if you saw that at the very end. But anyway, Kurt Gödel was his name. In the 1920s, he wrote these two papers called the incompleteness theorems, and basically what it explained was that in a formal system such as it exists both in language and in mathematics, that you can never have a statement that conveys a truth unless it is pertaining to that same statement. In other words, in order for anything to be true, it's always going to be incomplete because it will always have to refer back to itself in order to be considered complete. He called this the G statement. Kind of narcissistic in a way. But anyway, what the G statement says is basically that for a formal system to exist, axiomatically speaking, you can never convey a truth within that system that conveys a truth outside of the system. This has had a grander effect on more fun things, like, not on beer, but hang on. God, I love Garen, it's so dry. But on things like sci-fi. My favorite author, Philip K. Dick, for example, speaks a lot about this in terms of his understanding of self-consciousness, where the idea of being conscious as a human and that representing humanity must necessarily be self-referential. So Douglas Hofstadter took this idea and he just went ape with it, you know? He decided that he would freak me the fuck out, and he would connect people like MC Escher, who you might know from those spooky labyrinth, like stairs and stuff. If you've ever seen David Bowie's Dick in Labyrinth, you might remember. From those to Bach, which is like some musician, and to this guy Kurt. And so he connected all three of those things, and he wrote this 800-page book that I really recommend reading if you're a weirdo like I am, because it's fucking fascinating. And he said basically that this applies to consciousness in terms of it becoming a tangled hierarchy. And what that essentially means is that in order for consciousness to exist, it must always be referring to a sub-level and a prior level of that consciousness, which calls into question all kinds of things if you're regarding AI or things that are also relevant today that I don't like talking about because they're ruining my entire life and taking my job away, and that's why I'm doing YouTube. But anyway, if you're interested in the things that I've been talking about, then you should probably go and read that book, because Douglas Hofstadter had a lot to say about it, and also math, it turns out, is pretty interesting when you think about it from a philosophical lens like I do. So anyway, as always, exit stage left-hand path, and see you in the next one.